to get a summary of happenings in the capital market for the week. This is Capital Market. Good evening and welcome to the program here on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Now let's begin with the markets. Tops, of course, conversation here on Capital Market, and we're beginning with major equities markets around the globe. It ended mostly higher, recovering from the U.S. Federal Reserve's induced slump. This comes as investors digest his latest comments from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, as he vowed to raise rates to tackle inflation until the job is done, as well as the record rate hike by the European Central Bank. In the United States, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed Friday's trading session with 1.19% gain. The S&P 500 jumped 1.53%, while the Nasdaq Composite climbed 2.11%. A similar picture across Europe, as the UK's FTSE 100 ended the day higher by 1.23%. Germany's DAX jumped 1.43%, while France's CAC index closed the day with 1.41% advance. It's also green across the market across Asia Pacific. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 ended Friday earlier in the day up by 0.53%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index gained 2.69%, while the Shanghai Composite went up 0.82% on Friday. Let's head back home now here in Nigeria. Activities at the unlisted securities market ended the second week of September in the red, as the Nasdaq OTC Exchange Security Index recorded a 0.75% advance. At the same time, the market capitalization dropped by 100 billion naira to close the week at 996 billion naira, while year-to-date returns stands at 1.83%. Similarly, the total value of securities traded during the week decreased by 76.12%, as the market recorded a total of 34.45 million naira in value against 144.33 million naira in the previous week. At the same time, total volume of securities traded on the Nasdaq exchange decreased by 97.92% to 200,614 units, while deals rose by 18.42% this week. Meanwhile, Niger Delta Exploration and Production PLC was top among two losers, which led to the market's downturn, occupied the top spot in total volume of securities traded on the exchange this week. Let's go to more active equities now. The domestic stock market ended the first full week of September on a negative note, as the benchmark index recorded declines in 3 out of the 5 trading sessions. This comes as sell pressure by investors caused the market's value in monetary terms to drop 188.94 billion naira, while the all-share index fell by 0.70% following losses by some high-value and mid-cap equity. Sectoral performance on the NGX was mixed, as the banking, industrial goods, as well as oil and gas counter closed the week in the red, while consumer goods and insurance sectors ended the week positive. Champs PLC led a pack of 21 gainers, or 19.23% increase on its share price. Japor is a number among 35 other losers, while the trio of UBA, Sterling, Axis Bank were major contributors to 949.81 million total volume of shares traded this week. We'll just take a breather now. We're going to have a conversation on dividends that have been released this week, and we'll have our guests joining us virtually, but that'll be after the short break. This is Capital Market on Channels Television. Yeah, welcome back. Now, let's delve into the matter for this evening. We've had some earnings and dividends announced all through the week. For instance, we have from UBA, United Bank for Africa PLC. They released their first quarter 2022 financial result, which revealed profits of 41.50 billion naira for the period. And this shows an increase of 8.76% growth year on year. And earnings per share for the period was reported at 1.14 at 9.62%. We also have another corporates from the banking counter, the groups, that's Stanbic IBTC. Their first half 2022 financial report shows that gross earnings rose by 45% year on year to 134.87 billion naira, and it went from 92.895 billion naira same period last year. Wow. Looks impressive, but I'm not the one to say that. We have Rotimi Fakayejo, stockbroker with NGX, joining us virtually now. Good evening, Mr. Fakayejo. Happy weekend to you.
Good evening. Happy weekend from here, too.
Yeah. So it looks like it's been a good one, at least for the banks. We've seen UBA. I know there were much more, but we want to just focus, on this and expand it later. The banks seem to be doing well in spite of what seems to be harsh economic realities at this time. Is this a general thing, or is it just for these two that we have called up?
Well, I think for what we've seen so far, the performance of results from the banking sector has been very, very fantastic. The only one whereby we had a decline is GT Co. And I think that's definitely has been happening since the first quarter. And but for every other one, we've seen Zenith now, we've seen Stanbic, and we've seen UBA. So 3 against 1. So we can say that the banking sector is actually doing well. And just as you made mention earlier on that the way it is it really reflecting the reality in Nigerian space? Well, I think the banking sector being a service sector, we are really seeing it good coming from them. But if you also look at what has been posted concerning the consumer goods, I think some of them have done quite well as well. So there is no disappointment coming from them. So we begin to wonder what actually is the matter with our economy. If we are having some sectors doing very well, and yet the spending power of the general populace is declining by the day. But this and maybe any other thing will have been responsible. But for what we know, this definitely should rescind in the minds of investors that there is actually no reason for them to do any unnecessary sell-off, because these companies have come to stay and they have weathered. I mean, they have gone through bad weather and yes, they are still standing. So with interim dividend coming from these banks, I think it's quite a sustainable thing, which we are seeing over and over again. And it should be a good reason why investors should hold on tight to their investment in some of these corporates.
Does it seem to you that like investors are doing sell-offs unnecessarily?
Well, when you look at there is that caution coming from investors. Right now, many are not actually taking new positions, but at the same time, one time or the other, we see a sharp decline in the price of some securities. But that is quite expected at this time. But the volume we are seeing in the market over and over again shows that interest in taking new positions is actually not there for now. So we are seeing a daily average of 1.8, 2.2, which is unlike before when we used to have about 3.8, 4.5 on as daily value. So, but what I'm saying is, let it come to the investors that there is actually no reason for any sort of panic. Election will come, election will go, but these companies' fundamentals remain very, very solid.
Okay, so it's obvious, I think, that the market is still bearish at this time. But then it's the same with a lot of markets around the world. So is it just because of our elections, or is it just the way things are now? High inflation, double digits seems to be going across a lot of countries.
Well, I think is definitely we are not caught out from what is happening in the global space, because in every place we are having this kind of this rising inflation in virtually all the economies, and for Nigeria we are not an exception. But be that as it may, you know what the fear investors usually have prior to election year is actually what I was talking about. But that may be coupled with the reality of the inflationary trend that we are seeing presently. But I maintain again that investors shouldn't panic. Election will come and election will go, and Nigeria remains standing.
Mm. So let's look at insurance. I think I have some numbers here from insurance. I don't know if you've been able to catch up with some of that. Custodial Investment PLC, for instance, had profit before tax for December 2022 at about 13 billion. And then for 2021, it was 9. So they have profit there. Insurance, and then we also have for NEM insurance also, we also have a bit of profit there. And then for Qtix PLC. But sometimes it seems insurance is one sector that is being quiet, not looked at because it doesn't offer so much.
It depends on how you're going to look at it. The two mentioned insurance companies, Custodian and NEM, seem to be the flagship in the Nigerian, among the companies listed from the insurance sector on the Nigerian exchange. So those two have always been doing well, and there is nothing definitely to worry investors about what they are doing. And for Custodian, is definitely like an holdco company in the insurance sector because it's highly diversified and also, though every service they are offering is still a financial service. But the thing is that some insurance companies over the years have not been able to recover from the effects of the market meltdown in 2008. But quite a good number of them have gone ahead and they are really doing well. But for several of the insurance companies, investors are not really interested. If you look at NEM and Custodian, they are the two most highly prized insurance stocks listed on the exchange. So you definitely will expect a good performance from this. But for the other ones, we are still seeing 20 kobo in some, 30 kobo in some as their share price in the market. So definitely most investors will rather concentrate on a few rather than go ahead and spread their money in more insurance companies as they have done in the past, which did not pay off at all. Another one to look at in the insurance sector is Mansard. At least has been paying dividend over time as well. So definitely investors will look at where return will come to them by reason of dividend yield. So, and the dividend yield in such companies are quite encouraging. So I believe strongly that even as insurance sector may not be so attractive, but these three that I've mentioned remain very attractive and they are paying off in terms of dividend.
Who are the kind of investors who look the way of insurance that seems to be, I mean, as you have noted, not looking so attractive for most of them because, as you said, they're still trying to recover and they're not catching a lot of attention. So who are the kind of investors who look that route at this time?
I think, the pension, the PFAs actually look in that direction because what they are looking at is a stock that can actually give them stream of dividend uninterrupted over the years. And for these companies, for these few insurance companies, they've actually been doing that over time. And if that is the reason why they are investing, then definitely they remain so. And investors are individual investors as well. I mean, retail investors are also doing same because they can see value in these insurance companies. And so they have no reason. Because if you look at it critically, even Custodian is paying more dividend than many banks. So you have no reason why you may say you will not want to invest in such a company. So the investors in that sector, investing in these few insurance companies, they are highly diversified. Retail, institutional, PFAs, and the like.
All right, Mr. Fakayejo, we just have to crave your indulgence for just a minute. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll conclude our conversation and, of course, give you some of the major events that happened in the capital market. Welcome back. Concluding moments on capital markets. We still have our guest, Mr. Fakayejo, stockbroker with NGX. Mr. Fakayejo, we'll let you go in a couple of minutes. Just want to know, when you look into your crystal ball and then you see, I think we had just one positive trading day last week, this week, that's ending today. What do you see in this upcoming week?
Can you take that again?
We're entering into a new week. We had one positive trade day in this week that's ending today. For this week now, what do you see? What's the sentiment?
The sentiment still remains the same. That is, there is really nothing for now to excite the market. So we may not have all day of the week negative, but definitely we still have some ending in positive and outcome, and others in negative. But I want to believe strongly that there will be more subtle trading this week, because some, like the likes of GTCO and UBA, their dividend are still pending. So we might really see much activity in that particular stock. At least investors have crunched the figures, and definitely they will take position. So there's really nothing to excite the week, but I still believe that we won't have it all red. Even when it will be red, it's going to be very, very marginal. There won't be anything outrageous to actually make the market skew the other way.
Any stocks you think investors should look out for?
Well, basically none for now, except for those ones which have announced interim dividend. And we are still expecting from Access Call at the same time too. They have not brought in their result. So definitely investors may take a cue from what has been released from UBA, Zenith, and GTCO. So they may want to at least pitch their tent in that particular stock. So I think they also may be able to do as much as 30 kobo. So investors may want to do a swap and say, okay, if I've gotten 30 kobo from Zenith, then I can also get 30 kobo from Access Bank. And they may want to do a swap in that direction, because when you look at it, you may actually be getting about 60 kobo from the same quantum of fund that you used to invest in Zenith Bank and also in Access Bank. So it may make a lot of sense that so for this reason, we may see more activities in Access Call, and the investors await their half-year report.
All right, Mr. Rotimi Fakayejo. Well, that's one benefit of watching capital markets, is the strategies of how to make your money grow. Thank you so much for sharing that strategy with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
All right, now let's tell you some of those big things that happened during the week. On Wednesday this week, the Nigerian Exchange Limited admitted the listing of Lagos Free Zone 25 billion naira 20-year 13.25% infrastructure bond on its platform. During that listing, the divisional head capital markets at the NGX, Jude Chiemeka, applauded the company on the milestone transactions, which is a testament, according to him, to the capacity of the Nigerian debt market as a veritable source of domestic capital for infrastructural development in the country. Explained that the second issuance of the 25 billion Series 2 bond, the first 20-year corporate infrastructure bond in Nigeria, LFZC, has established a new standard in the domestic debt market in the country. Also, MTN was in the news this week. Listed telecoms giant MTN Nigeria says it's in the process of issuing 23 billion naira Series 3 commercial paper notes under its 150 billion naira commercial paper issuance program. The company explained that the issuance is part of strategies to diversify its financing options, with the funds deployed towards working capital and general corporate purposes, It says that further details on the issuance as well as subsequent issuance will be communicated to the market. Also, the Debt Management Office has offered 2 new federal government savings bonds at 1,000 per unit for September. According to the DMO, the 2- and 3-year bonds due on the 14th of this month, of the 14th of September 2024 and 2025, at an interest rate of 11.04% and 12.04% per annum, are subject to a minimum subscription of 5,000 naira. The agency adds that the offer opens on Monday, the 5th of September, and closes on the 9th of September. Just before we go, here are some of the key expectations for Nigeria's capital markets as well as the financial market in the coming week. For the fixed income market, CBN is to offer 159.60 billion naira worth of maturities at Wednesday, September 14 primary market auction. Traders anticipate quiet trading at the NTB segment as participants position for the next PMA. Sell-off sentiment expected to persist at the NTB and bond secondary market in anticipation of inflation figures from the National Bureau of Statistics. That's it on the program. I hope it's been really useful to you. At least we have a strategy for investing, and we can put that to practice. Thanks a lot for being a part of the show. I'll see you on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Ini John Mekwa.